Hello and welcome to another Lumberjack guide for free-to-play old school RuneScape. In this video we're going to be going through everything to do with the Moss Giantess boss, Bryophyta. I wouldn't liken your chances if you don't watch the rest of this video. You get it? Liken Moss Giant? I'm trying here people, I'm trying. Bryophyta is the Moss Giant boss. Why then would you want to fight her? Apart from the fact she's one of the few bosses available to fight in free-to-play, so obviously the challenge and kudos of defeating her is something worthwhile. If you do it enough times, you can also land yourself on the coveted OSRS high scoreboards. There is a reasonably high number of kills required to get to that godly height of rank number 1. Currently it's about 5,919. So, good luck with that if that's what you want to do. There's also now a number of combat achievements associated to defeating Bryophyta. I think there's about 7. I'm going to flash them up on the screen there. I will not be going through every single one of these in the video, that's beyond the scope of this guide. Of course, the main reason you want to fight Bryophyta is for the drops. Bryophyta has 2 key drops. One is key to everyone and one is probably more important for Iron Men. So I'm going to start with the Iron Man one because it's the lesser of the 2, and that is the Rune Square Shield. I believe Bryophyta is the only enemy in the free-to-play game that will drop the Rune Square Shield. This is superior to any other shield other than the Rune Kite Shield, which you can only get from killing the other free-to-play boss, Obor. It's a reasonably easy to get drop, it's like a 1 in 20 chance. Now, onto the main event, and that is Bryophyta's Essence. This was previously a members item. There's a 1 in 118 chance of getting this, so combined with the keys for the instance, it's a good drop to get if you get this. But this allows you to unlock the latest and best magic staff in the free-to-play game, and that is Bryophyta's Staff. As you can see on the screen there, there's a variety of runes and other items that Bryophyta drops, and tables are once again provided by that great site OSRS Wiki, which you can check out from a link in the description. Moving on, let's examine Bryophyta's stats. She has a combat level of 128, max hit of 16, and 115 HP. You can see the rest of the stats on the screen there. I'm not going to go through every single one. She does not attack with range at all, but she does attack with melee if you are close enough. Otherwise, she will stand back and just blast spells at you. The catch with Bryophyta is that she can also summon growthlings, which we'll look at later, and based on the fact that Bryophyta is strong in magic, this makes attacking her with magic in free-to-play not very practical. So I do not recommend utilising magic, and therefore will not be covering using magic in the guides. I will, however, be covering range, which is the preferred and best method, and also melee, which is very achievable, but nowhere near as safe and easy as ranged. How does one access Bryophyta, I hear you asking? She lives in the Varrock sewers. You can see the map on the screen showing you the access point into the sewers there, and once I've gone inside, you can see the map for the Varrock sewers displayed as well as the required route. Key point here, remember that you will need a slash item as there is a spiderweb just popping up there, that you will need a slash item in order to get through to access not only Bryophyta but the Moss Giants within the sewer as well. In order to pass the gate that bars the entrance to her instance, you will need mossy keys. This requires you to kill Moss Giants, of which there are 3 locations in free-to-play. The first and most efficient is in the Wilderness, which gives you a 1 in 60 chance, but obviously comes with its own hazards. The next one is Crandor, probably not very practical or very useful. This has a 1 in 150 chance of a mossy key. And the place I'd recommend is the Varrock sewers, conveniently right outside Bryophyta's lair. That also has a 1 in 150 chance. So by far the fastest method is to use the Wilderness, but it's also the most dangerous. I recommend just farming in Varrock sewers. When you've obtained enough keys, anyone who's interested can check out my range and magic guides, links to which will be popping up on the screen about now as I utilise Moss Giants for training in both. Simply head to the locked gate you can see on the screen there and enter the instance. Although before we do that, we're going to have to decide which way we want to fight Bryophyta, range or melee. Don't worry, I'm going to give you both, starting with the stats, items and equipment required for the range method, which is by far my preferred and recommended method. Right, so stats, you're going to need 37 prayer. This is obviously for protect from magic. This is crucial with Bryophyta. As I said earlier, she attacks heavily with magic. You are going to need 40 defense. This is to allow you to wear green dragon hide. And if you're going to use range, as we are, we're going to need 50 range. Let's get into the equipment. On the screen now, you can see the recommended minimum set of equipment, and for each I've provided a rough GE price guide. In terms of arrows, I recommend adamant if possible. Alternatively, you can use mithril or at a push steel, but adamant and mithril are recommended to max out your max hit. In terms of items, you can see my recommended inventory with individual breakdowns and price guides as well. Key thing to remember here is a slash item. In this case, you can see I've brought a knife in order to get through the spiderweb in the Varrock sewers. Additionally, you'll need an axe to deal with the growthlings. Don't worry if you forget this, because you can actually pick one up in the instance. Okay, so if you have the stats, equipment and items that I've just mentioned previously, you're pretty much ready to go. Before you go through that gate of no return and use your mossy key, do the checklist. So check you've got full health, check you've got full prayer, etc, etc. You get the point. If all that comes back green, then let's head through the door. Bear in mind, as soon as you get into the instance, you're going to be attacked by magic from Bryophyta. You want to turn on your protect from magic as soon as possible, possibly even before you go through the door. And now all we have to do is range Bryophyta and pray that she doesn't summon the growthlings. The less she summons the growthlings, the faster you'll kill her. When the growthlings spawn in, you need to switch up and attack the growthlings immediately. This is because while the growthlings are present in the instance, Bryophyta cannot be damaged. They'll come to you, so don't really go chasing after them, and kill them in turn. Once they get down to 1 or 0 health, use the axe, so you're going to have to right click, use, and that will kill them off. Otherwise, they will just stay there forever. I'd like to say she only does this a set number of times, but it's completely random. She could do it technically 0 times, and she could do it 5 times in a row. They are quite annoying. If you wanted to save arrows, you could bring a sword to deal with them separately, and that pretty much sums up how to kill Bryophyta. Using this method, you should be able to kill her relatively quickly, and you've sort of safe spotted her because her magic very rarely lands. I recommend staying back, because if you go close, she will use melee, which will probably land hits, and you don't want to do that. So yeah, just cycle through attacking her and dealing with the growthlings as they come up. There's not really a whole lot more to it. Anyone who has low prayer, or if your prayer gets low because you've been unlucky and she spawned the growthlings multiple times, can utilize prayer flicking. I've added a tip at the end of the video, so check that out on how to do it. And this will elongate almost indefinitely your prayer, allowing you to last the full instance with your protection from magic up. Please like the video and support my content. Thank you, noble knight. So now that we've gone through the range technique, let's look at the melee technique. This is the more dangerous of the two options, and in my experience, definitely the slower. As before, we're going to look at stats first. You're going to need your 37 prayer again, because as we said before, she's going to attack with a lot of magic, and as you're going to be decked out for melee, you're going to be more susceptible to that, so it's more crucial that you have 37 prayer for protect from magic. And then I just recommend base 50 stats, so base 50 melee, 50 attack, 50 defense, and 50 strength. That's it. That should be enough stats-wise to deal with her. Moving on to equipment. You should see the recommended equipment coming up on the screen, along with the breakdowns and the rough GE guide prices. As with the previous one, I didn't actually verbalize it, but Iron Men, if you are struggling to get the Amulet of Power or the Amulet of Strength, then use the Amulet of Accuracy. Equally, just bring your best melee defense shield as well. It's worth having a quick discussion on weapons. Obviously, if you are a standard account, you want to be using the Rune Scimitar, which is basically the best melee weapon in free-to-play. Iron Man, there's a little bit more variety. I recommend using the Baronite Mace, as that's probably the best melee weapon you're going to be able to attain. If you haven't got that, then bring a Rune Sword, not a Rune Longsword. The Rune Sword, while being lower in stats, has a higher attack rate, so you'll do more DPS with the Rune Sword, not the Rune Longsword. That covers equipment. In terms of items, it's almost exactly the same as the last step. As you can see, once again, the breakdown and the rough cost guides are on the screen again. However, if you're using the Baronite Mace and you're an Iron Man, you will probably need to bring a slash item, so bring the knife. Otherwise, if you're using the Scimitar or the Rune Sword, you've already got a slash item, so the sword will do the job. Okay, so moving on to the tactics. Before we enter Bryophyta's lair, you want to do the checks. Health, prayer, toggle run, attack style, etc, etc, same as before. You can see the checklist on the screen. Quick note, just because the attack styles have changed slightly and there's a few more options, remember to use a slashing style with the scimitar, a stabbing style with the sword, and the Baronite mace can only do crush, so you don't really have to worry too much about that one. Once again, when you get through here, you'll almost instantly get attacked with magic, so turn on the Protect from Magic prayer and charge Bryophyta and attack her. Once again, you're hoping that she doesn't spawn the Growthlings, or she spawns them sparingly. It's completely random, just keep hitting her until the Growthlings spawn. Once the Growthlings spawn, I suggest you take a few steps away from Bryophyta. Firstly, because the Growthlings tend to get tangled around her and she blocks them, so they'll just stand there, and obviously you need to kill them as quickly as possible in order to start dealing damage back to Bryophyta. And secondly, it means that she focuses her magic attacks on you, which don't do any damage while your prayer is up. So you can just deal with the Growthlings. Remember, just get the health down to 1 or lower, and then use the axe on them. Right click, use axe, get rid of the Growthlings, and then charge back to Bryophyta and start giving her the good news. If you're unlucky, she might spawn the Growthlings 3 to 4 times. If you're lucky, she might only do it once or twice. Just persevere and eventually you will kill her off. As you can see in the video, if you want a prayer flick, that might be a sensible option. But yeah, this method can take a while, but is equally doable. You can see that I had plenty of food left by the end, and although my stats are a little bit higher on this account, I'm probably like base 65 melee, which is a little bit higher than the minimum required, so you might use more food if you are at the minimum. She doesn't deal a ridiculous amount of damage simultaneously, and you're probably still able to deal with her. Congratulations, these are the 2 methods of dealing with Bryophyta. Gather your drops and exit the instance, or teleport out if you brought the runes like I did. Now, as with all my videos, I like to bring a couple of bonus tips right at the end, and in this video I have 4 top tips to help make fighting Bryophyta that little bit easier. The first tip is to always recharge your prayer at the monastery to the west of Edgeville. The reason you want to do this is because it gives you 2 extra prayer points. You do need 31 prayer in order to access the altar at the monastery, but obviously if you've listened to my advice, this shouldn't be a problem. The second tip I'm going to bring to you is to go into your settings and under the control tab, as you can see I'm doing on the screen there for you, and where it says NPCs, change the option to left click where available. Normally, for high-level NPCs such as Bryophyta being level 1 to 8, you would have to right-click and then select attack. Changing this option, as I've suggested, allows you to attack with 1 left-click instead of the normal right-click, left-click combo. This is crucial when you want to eat, target the Growthlings, flick your prayer, and or anything in between, move, etc., allowing you to resume the attack with 1 simple left click. The third tip is in a similar vein to the previous one, however this is to do with setting up your quick prayers. To set up your quick prayers, all you need to do is right click on the quick prayer icon next to your minimap, so right click, set up quick prayers, and in this instance we want to be using Protect from Magic. Once that is done, we want to come off that menu, and now we can toggle our prayers on and off by simply clicking this icon on the screen, as you can see my character doing. This is critical if you want to perform prayer flicking, which is my 4th and final tip. I use an online metronome. If you just search for metronome on Google, you can get that and set it to 100 beats per minute. This is roughly aligned to the game clock. Since Bryophyta has an attack speed of 6, this means she generally attacks on the 6th tick. I can align that now, and I'll tune the metronome in so you can hear it. So that basically I click the prayer on the 4th or 5th tick and turn it off again on the 6th or just after the 6th. And this basically preserves my prayer and allows me to have all the benefit while not actually using it. Just obviously keep on top of your health and learn to multitask. You can use the metronome to practice. That's all I can recommend with prayer flicking. The best thing to do is just practice, 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 and eventually you'll get your head around it. And that pretty much sums up this video. I hope this has been of some use to you. Thank you for watching, and if you have any tips or tricks to get the better of Bryophyta, please leave a comment and let me know. I am eager to hear them. And this is the Lumberjay Knight saying peace out. So peace out, guys.